She worked as a waitress in a busy, fancy restaurant in the city. The place was full of rich people who came to eat expensive food and enjoy their nights. The waitress moved quickly between tables, carrying plates and pouring drinks. Politely and spoke softly, but most of the guests did not notice her. To them, she was just someone who served food. But she had a secret when she was not working. She loved to play the piano every day after her shifts. She went to a small music room near her home. It was a simple room with an old piano. It was not new or shiny, but it was enough for her to practice. She had been playing the piano since she was a child. Her family could not afford music lessons, so she learned by watching videos and listening to music. She played slowly at first, making many mistakes, but over time, she got better. Playing piano was more than a hobby for her. It was a way to feel free and happy. When she played, she forgot about her hard days and her worries. Music was her escape. She dreamed that one day she could play in front of a big audience. But for now, she had to work hard as a waitress to pay her bills and help her family. At the restaurant, the rich guests talked about business, vacations, and parties. They wore fancy clothes and expensive jewelry. They ordered special dishes and expensive wine. Some of them looked bored or tired. The waitress knew many of them came here every week. They had little time for music or art. Their world was full of money and power. It's not quiet melodies or soft notes. The waitress often sat quietly during her breaks, thinking about the music she would play later. Sometimes she touched the piano keys softly on her phone, or imagined playing a song in her mind. She wished she could show her real self, the one who could make music that touched people's hearts. But she felt invisible in the restaurant. No one saw the woman behind the uniform. Her coworkers knew she liked music. Sometimes she hummed songs quietly while cleaning tables. One day, a chef heard her humming a beautiful tune. He told her, "You should play piano for the guests someday." She smiled, but said it was just a dream. The restaurant had a pianist every night, a man who was very good and played famous songs. The waitress never thought she could take his place despite the hard work. She never gave up on her music. Every week, she practiced new songs. She learned fast and remembered every note. Music teachers online gave her advice for free. She watched videos late at night and copied the movements of great pianists. Sometimes she recorded herself to listen and improve. Her fingers grew stronger, and her confidence slowly grew. At home, her family supported her. They knew she worked long hours and still found time to practice. They encouraged her not to lose hope. Her younger brother said, "One day you will be on a big stage, and we will watch you from the front row." Mother smiled and said, "Keep playing. Your music can change your life." But the waitress felt scared. What if she tried to play in front of others and made mistakes? What if the rich people laughed or ignored her? She was shy and humble. Still, she kept dreaming quietly. Every night she imagined playing a song that would stop people from talking. It would make them listen and feel something deep inside. One evening, while serving drinks, she noticed the restaurant manager talking on the phone. The usual pianist had called in sick. The manager looked worried and said they needed someone to play that night. The waitress's heart beat faster. She wanted to help but felt unsure. She did not want to make a mistake and lose her job. After her shift, she walked slowly to the music corner in the restaurant. The piano was big and shiny, waiting silently. She sat down, took a deep breath, and placed her fingers on the keys. The restaurant was full of rich guests who expected music, but no one knew she would be the one to play. She closed her eyes and started playing a soft tune she had practiced many times. The notes filled the room, quiet and gentle. At first, she felt nervous, but the music helped her relax. She played more confidently, her fingers moving smoothly. She did not know this night would change her life forever. Let me know if you want me to continue with part 2 or make any changes. The restaurant was busy that evening. The usual pianist was not there. The manager was worried and talked quietly with the staff. He needed someone to play the piano for the guests. The music was important because many rich people came to this place to relax and enjoy their time with soft songs in the background. The waitress watched quietly as the manager looked around, trying to find someone who could play. She felt her heart beating faster. Could this be her chance? She wanted to help but was also afraid. What if she made a mistake? What if the guests did not like her music? She thought about all the hours she spent practicing alone, away from the busy restaurant life. Maybe now was the time to try. The manager noticed her watching and asked softly, "Can you play the piano?" The waitress nodded quietly. She did not say much. She just wanted to show her true talent. The manager hesitated, but then said, "Okay, will you play just for tonight? If you want, no one has to know it's you." The waitress felt a mix of fear and hope. She wanted to say yes right away, but her voice was soft and nervous. Finally, she agreed. The staff gave her encouraging smiles. She took a deep breath and went to the piano. It was big and shiny, placed in the corner of the restaurant near the window. As she sat down, her hands shook a little. She looked around and saw the rich guests sitting at their tables. They were talking and drinking wine. Some looked at their phones. They did not expect anything special to happen tonight. They thought the usual pianist would be here, but now something different was about to begin. The waitress closed her eyes for a moment. She remembered the songs she practiced the most. She thought about her family, her dreams, and the long nights she spent learning piano by herself. She opened her eyes and placed her fingers on the keys. The first note came out soft and clear. Slowly, she started to play a simple melody. It was calm and gentle, like a quiet breeze. At first, some guests kept talking, but the music was beautiful. It began to catch their attention. The waitress's fingers moved carefully. Her heart began to feel stronger. The more she played, the more her confidence grew. She did not think about the guests or the restaurant. She only thought about the music. She played a song that she loved, one that told a story without words. The notes moved like waves, touching the walls and filling the room. The guests started to stop their conversations. Some looked up from their plates. The rich people, who were used to many parties and loud noises, suddenly became quiet. They listened closely. No one spoke. The music had changed the mood. The busy restaurant became peaceful. The waitress felt a warm feeling inside. She smiled a little and closed her eyes again. Her fingers danced on the keys faster now, playing with more emotion. The music was not just notes anymore. It was a message of hope, dreams, and courage. It told the story of a girl who never gave up, even when life was hard. A few guests leaned forward, their faces showing surprise and respect. They whispered to each other, "Who is this girl playing so beautifully?" No one knew she was the waitress they had seen serving food all day. The music made her shine brighter than any fancy dress or jewelry as she played the last notes. The restaurant was completely silent. The rich guests sat still, as if they did not want to break the magic. The waitress took a deep breath and slowly lifted her hands from the piano. She looked around nervously. Would they like what she played? Would they clap or smile? Suddenly, a few guests started to clap softly. Then more and more hands joined in. The sound grew louder and louder. The applause filled the room. The rich people stood up and clapped with respect and surprise. Some smiled warmly at the waitress. She felt her cheeks turn red but was happy. For the first time she felt that she belonged in this place, not just as a worker, but as a musician. The manager came over with a big smile. He whispered, "You did great." Everyone loved it. The waitress nodded, feeling proud but still a little shy. She knew this night was only the beginning. Maybe now her dream could start to come true. Later, after the restaurant closed, some guests came to thank her personally. They asked if she would play again. One guest even offered to help her get more chances to perform. The waitress could hardly believe it. Her quiet dream was no longer hidden. It was real. As she walked home that night, she felt lighter and happier than before. The piano music inside her heart was louder now. She knew that no matter how hard life was, her music could open new doors. This night had changed everything. The waitress was not just serving food anymore, she was ready to share her gift with the world. In a small village, a cat named Whiskers discovered a magic fish in a pond. The fish promised 3 wishes in exchange for its freedom. Whiskers wished for endless fish, a cozy bed, and a bell that rang softly. The fish granted all 3 wishes and swam away. leaving whiskers content and purring in the sun. After that special night, things at the restaurant began to feel different for the waitress. The rich guests who came in often whispered about the new pianist who played with so much feeling. They looked for her with curious eyes. Some even asked the manager if she could play again soon. The manager smiled and said he was proud of her. The waitress felt nervous, but happy. She never expected her music to touch so many people. Before, she thought of herself as just a waitress. Now, she felt like a real musician. Each day she worked hard in the restaurant, but her heart was full of music and hope. She practiced more than ever. At home, she spent hours playing the piano. She wanted to learn new songs and improve her skills. She watched videos and listened carefully to every note. Her fingers grew stronger and faster. She wanted to be ready if someone asked her to play again. One afternoon, a well-dressed woman came into the restaurant. She was different from the usual guests. She wore simple clothes, but had a kind smile. She sat at a table near the piano and asked the waitress if she could play a song for her. The waitress felt shy but agreed. As she played, the woman listened quietly. When the song ended, the woman stood and clapped softly. She said, "You have a rare gift. You should share your music with more people." The waitress smiled but said, "I only play here. I am just a waitress." The woman shook her head gently. "No, you are more than that. I work with people who help musicians like you. If you want, I can introduce you to them." The waitress's eyes grew wide. She had never dreamed of this. The woman gave her a card and told her to call any time. That night, the waitress thought about the offer. She felt excited, but also scared. What if she failed? What if she left her job and nothing happened? But deep inside, she knew she wanted to try. Her music was a part of her. She wanted to see how far it could take her. The next day, she called. The number on the card. A kind voice answered and invited her to meet. The woman helped her join a small group where new musicians practiced and shared their songs. The waitress felt welcome and happy. She met people who believed in her. At the same time, things at the restaurant stayed busy. The usual pianist had not returned, so the waitress was asked to play more often. Each time she played, she grew stronger and more confident. The rich guests began to recognize her face and name. They told their friends about the talented waitress who could play the piano like a star. One evening, a group of guests invited her to a private party. They wanted her to play there and see what it felt like to perform outside the restaurant. The waitress felt nervous but accepted. She practiced a new song every day, wanting to impress the guests. The night of the party arrived. The house was large and full of expensive furniture. Many rich and important people were there. The waitress took a deep breath and sat at the grand piano. The music began to flow from her fingers. The room fell silent. The guests listened carefully, moved by the beauty of her playing. After the last note, everyone clapped loudly. Some people came to talk to her, praising her talent. The waitress smiled and thanked them. She felt proud but also calm. She knew this was only the beginning of her journey. At home, she told her family about the party. They were happy and proud. Her younger brother said, "See, I told you. One day, you will be famous." Mother hugged her and said, "Keep playing. We will always support you." Even with the growing attention, the waitress stayed humble. She remembered the long days working in the restaurant. She knew that music was a gift, but also hard work. She promised herself never to forget where she came from. Days passed, and she balanced her job and music. Some nights she was tired, but she still practiced. She met new people who believed in her and helped her learn. She joined small concerts and played for bigger crowds. One afternoon, the restaurant manager came to her with a big smile. He said, "There is a music competition in the city next month. I think you should enter. You have the talent to win." The waitress thought for a moment. Wow. It was a chance to show her skills in front of many people. She agreed to try. That day, she practiced harder than ever. She chose songs that showed her feelings and skill. She wanted to make every note count. The competition was a challenge, but she was ready. Her dream was growing closer. From a simple waitress to a pianist who could touch hearts, her life was changing. She felt proud, excited, and sometimes scared, but she never stopped playing. Music was her voice, her story, and her future. The day of the music competition finally arrived. The waitress felt a mix of excitement and nervousness. She had practiced for weeks, choosing songs that showed her best skills. Her family was there to support her, giving her strength and courage. Even though she felt scared, she knew this was her chance to show the world who she really was. The competition was held in a large hall filled with many people. Musicians from different places came to play. Some were young, some were older, and all were very talented. The waitress felt a little nervous when she saw them. She wondered if she was really ready to play in front of so many strangers. When it was her turn, she walked slowly to the stage. The bright lights shone down on her, and the audience watched quietly. She sat at the big piano, took a deep breath, and placed her fingers on the keys. The room was silent except for the soft sound of the first notes as she played. The music flowed smoothly from her heart through her fingers. She felt calm and free. Her worries disappeared. She played each song with feeling, telling a story. Without words, the audience listened closely, moved by the emotion in her music. After she finished, the crowd clapped loudly. Some people stood and gave her a warm round of applause. The waitress smiled and bowed. She felt proud, but she knew the competition was not over yet. There were many more musicians to play. Backstage, she waited nervously while the judges made their decisions. She watched the other players, some with big instruments, some with smaller ones. Everyone was talented. She felt lucky just to be part of this event. Finally, the judges announced the winners. The waitress's name was called for a special prize, the most promising new musician. The crowd cheered, and she walked up to receive her award. Her heart beat fast with joy. She thought about all the hard work, the long nights, the times she almost gave up. After the ceremony, many people came to talk to her. They said her music was beautiful and that she had a special gift. Some offered to help her learn more and to play in other concerts. The waitress felt like she was living a dream. Her family was waiting outside the hall. They hugged her tightly and smiled with tears in their eyes. Her younger brother said, "I knew you could do it. You are amazing." Her mother said softly, "We are so proud of you. This is just the beginning." The waitress knew that her life had changed. From working in the restaurant to winning a prize at a big music competition, she had come far. But she also knew that there was still much to learn and many challenges ahead. She promised herself to keep practicing and to never forget where she started. Back at the restaurant, the manager was very proud. He told other staff about her success. The rich guests who visited often now asked when she would play next. Some even came just to hear her music. The waitress felt happy but stayed humble. She kept working hard and playing her music with all her heart. Days later, she received an invitation to play at a local music festival. It was a chance to perform in front of an even bigger audience. The waitress was excited but also nervous. She practiced new songs carefully, wanting to show her best self. On the day of the festival, the crowd was much larger than the competition. People came from all around the city to listen. The waitress took her place at the piano and began to play. Her music filled the open air, reaching the ears of many strangers. Some smiled, some closed their eyes, and some wiped away tears. After her performance, a famous music teacher came to meet her. The teacher said, "You have something special. Keep playing and never stop believing in yourself." The waitress thanked the teacher with a shy smile. She felt more confident and ready to face new opportunities. At home, she shared her experiences with her family. They listened carefully and cheered for her. Her dreams were no longer quiet wishes. They were becoming real, the waitress knew. That music had the power to change lives, including her own. Even with all the attention and praise, she stayed grounded. She remembered the long days serving food and the quiet nights practicing alone. Her journey was not just about fame or success. It was about following her heart and sharing her gift with the world. The waitress continued to work at the restaurant. But her heart was full of music and hope. She knew that her story was just beginning, and many more melodies waited to be played. The waitress's life was changing fast, but she stayed calm and focused. She still worked at the restaurant, serving food and drinks, but now music was a big part of her days. She was invited to many small concerts and shows. People wanted to hear her play. Her dream was slowly becoming real. One evening after her shift, the manager came to her with a big smile. He said, "There is a special event next week. Some very important people will come. They want to hear you play." The waitress's heart beat faster. She was nervous but excited. This could be a big chance. She spent many hours practicing. She chose songs that showed her feelings and skill. She wanted to make every note perfect. At home, her family encouraged her. Her mother told her, "Remember, it is your music that touches people. Just play from your heart." Her younger brother added, "We will be there, cheering for you." The day of the event came. The room was decorated with beautiful flowers and lights. The rich guests wore their best clothes. Some were famous, some were business leaders. Waitress felt a little scared as she waited behind the curtain. But she took a deep breath and reminded herself why she loved music. When it was her turn, she walked slowly to the piano. The room grew quiet. She sat down and looked at the keys. The music began softly, like a gentle breeze. Her fingers moved carefully, then faster and stronger. The music filled the room with warmth and emotion. As she played, she saw some guests, closing their eyes, lost in the melody. Others smiled and nodded. The rich people, who usually talked loudly or checked their phones, were silent. The music had caught their hearts. The waitress played with all her soul, telling a story only music can tell. When the last note faded, the room stayed quiet for a moment. Then applause broke out. The guests stood and clapped loudly. Some came to her with kind words and warm smiles. One guest said, "Your music is beautiful. It makes us feel something special." The waitress felt happy and proud, but also humble. After the event, the waitress was invited to join a group of musicians who traveled to play in different cities. They wanted her to be part of their team. She thought about it carefully. Traveling would mean leaving her family and the restaurant. It was a big decision. Her family talked with her and said, "Follow your dream, but don't forget us." The waitress knew they were right. She wanted to see the world and share her music, but she also wanted to stay connected to home. After a few days, she decided to join the group, knowing it was the next step in her journey. Traveling with the musicians was exciting but hard. She saw new places and met many people. She played in big halls, small cafes, and outdoor stages. Place had a different audience. Some nights were full of cheers, others were quiet and thoughtful. She learned a lot about music and herself. Even with the busy schedule, she never forgot her roots. She sent messages to her family every day. She remembered the nights she spent practicing alone in a small room. Those memories gave her strength when she felt tired or lonely one day. During a concert in a new city, the waitress saw a young girl in the audience. The girl's eyes were wide and full of wonder. After the show, the girl came up and said, "I want to play the piano like you someday." The waitress smiled and said, "Keep practicing and never give up. Music is a gift for everyone." That moment touched her deeply. She realized that her music was not just about her success. It was about inspiring others. It was about hope and courage. She wanted to be a light for those who dreamed like she did. Back home, the restaurant manager told other staff about her travels and concerts. The rich guests who visited often asked about her. They were proud to have heard her first notes in their restaurant. The waitress felt grateful for everyone who believed in her. As the months passed, her music grew stronger, and so did her heart. She learned to face challenges with courage. She knew that no matter where life took her, music would always be her home. One evening, after a long day of travel and practice, the waitress sat by a window, looking at the city lights. She thought about how far she had come from a quiet waitress to a musician who touched many lives. Her dream was alive, and she was ready for whatever came next. The waitress had traveled to many cities and played in front of many people. Her music had touched hearts and inspired many, but deep inside, she felt something was missing. She missed home, her family, the quiet room where she first learned to play. and even the busy restaurant where she worked before becoming a musician. One day, after a concert, she sat quietly and thought about what mattered most. She realized that no matter how far she traveled or how many people she played for, she wanted to give back to the place that believed in her first. The restaurant in her small hometown had helped her grow, and she wanted to show her gratitude. She decided to return home for a while. When she walked into the restaurant again, it felt strange, but good. The manager smiled warmly and said, "Welcome back. We are proud of you." The rich guests were happy to see her, and some even asked her to play the piano during dinner. She agreed. It felt right to share her music here again. The restaurant had changed a little, but the piano was still in the same corner. As she sat down and played, she saw smiles and peaceful faces. The music connected her to the people she had served before. She remembered the days when she was invisible, and now she was the one who brought silence and wonder. Her family was also happy to have her home. They listened to her stories and watched her play. Her younger brother said, "You are my hero." Her mother hugged her tightly and said, "Your music fills our hearts with joy." But the waitress did not stop there. She wanted to help others like her who had dreams but did not know where to start. She began to teach children in her town how to play the piano. Some had never touched a piano before, but they had big hearts and hopes. The children loved her lessons. She was patient and kind, always encouraging them to try their best. She told them stories about her own journey from a shy girl playing alone to a woman playing in front of rich crowds. The children listened carefully and dreamed bigger. One day, a local community center invited her to start a music program. For young people, she accepted happily. The program was small at first, but grew quickly. Many children joined, excited to learn and play. The waitress found new meaning in her music, not just performing, but teaching and inspiring as she worked. With the children, she saw the power of music in a new way. It gave hope to those who felt alone. It brought people together. It created a family. The waitress felt proud and grateful to be part of this. At the same time, she continued to play in concerts and festivals. She balanced her time between traveling and teaching. It was not always easy, but her love for music kept her strong. She knew she was doing what she was meant to do. One afternoon, a reporter came to interview her for a local newspaper. The reporter asked, "What is your message to people who have dreams but are afraid to follow them?" The waitress smiled and said, "Never stop believing in yourself. Even when things are hard, keep going. Music taught me that courage and hope can change your life." The story of the waitress who became a famous pianist and a teacher spread. People in her town felt proud. They saw that dreams could come true, no matter where you started. As time passed, the waitress found peace. She knew her journey was not just about music, but about sharing love, hope, and courage. She had touched many lives and helped others find their voice. One evening, after a long day teaching and playing, she sat by the piano and looked out the window. The city lights twinkled and she felt calm. She played a soft song, a song of gratitude and dreams. Her music was no longer just hers. It belonged to everyone who believed in hope. And she knew that no matter what the future held, her heart would always sing. Years passed since the waitress first played the piano at the restaurant. Her life had changed in ways she never imagined. From serving food to playing for rich audiences, traveling to teaching children, her journey had been full of surprises, challenges, and joy. One evening, the restaurant held a special event. It was a celebration of music and dreams. The manager invited many guests, old and new. The waitress was the star of the night. She sat at the grand piano, ready to play the songs that told her story. As she began to play, the room fell silent. The notes were soft at first, then grew strong and clear. The music filled the hearts of everyone there. The guests listened carefully, some with tears in their eyes. They heard the story of a girl who never gave up, who found her voice through music. After the performance, the manager stood up and spoke. He told the guests about the waitress's journey, from the woman who served tables to the artist who touched many lives. The guests applauded loudly. They knew they had witnessed something special. The waitress smiled, feeling grateful. She thought about all the people who helped her, the family who loved her, the friends who believed in her, the guests who listened to her music. She knew she was not alone. Her success was shared with many hearts. Later that night, some children from her music program came to the restaurant, watched her play with wide eyes and big smiles. They dreamed of being like her one day. The waitress knelt down and told them, "Your dreams are important. Keep playing, keep believing." The children listened closely. They knew their teacher's story was real. It gave them hope. They felt that if she could do it, they could too. The waitress's story spread beyond the city. Newspapers, radio, and social media shared her journey. She was invited to talk about her music and her life. She spoke simply, but from the heart. She said, "Life may be hard, but music and hope can light the way." She became a symbol of courage for many. People from different places wrote to her, sharing their dreams and struggles. She answered with kindness and encouragement. She understood how important it was to have someone believe in you. Despite the fame, the waitress stayed humble. She still loved simple things: a quiet morning, a good cup of tea, time with her family, and of course, music. She knew that success was not only about applause or awards, but about touching hearts and making a difference. One day, a young woman came to her music program. She said, "I saw you play at the restaurant years ago. You changed my life." The waitress smiled and held her hand. Moments like this made all the hard work worth it. The waitress's journey was a reminder that anyone can rise from humble beginnings. That talent and heart can break through walls of doubt and fear. That kindness and courage can open doors. She often thought about the first night she played at the restaurant piano. How nervous she was. How the rich audience fell silent. That night had changed everything. It gave her a chance to shine. Now, she's shown not just for herself, but for many others who needed hope. She showed that dreams are possible no matter where you start. Her music continued to play in hearts and homes. It became a light in dark times, a friend to lonely souls. The waitress was no longer just a waitress. She was a musician, a teacher, and a dreamer who dared to believe. And as she sat by her piano, playing soft melodies under the stars, she knew one thing for sure: her story was just the beginning of many beautiful stories yet to come.